This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, MICHAEL COVEL. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. Now let me take you into something a little fun today. As I said at the top of the show, I see this as a big soup. These interconnected ideas and thoughts that you never would have expected that Jeff Bezos operates as a trend-following trader. But he sure as hell does. Absolutely, 100%. He's got it in his mindset. And he's not the only one. Venture capitalist, Hollywood financing, the MIT blackjack team, Warren Buffett. Oh yeah, go read Snowball. Go read about Warren Buffett and the Kelly criteria. Warren knows what's up. Don't let the buy and hold fantasy of Warren Buffett and all the bookstores lull you to sleep, because that's a bunch of bullshit. Warren knows what's up. Highly concentrated bets and being flexible. Before I even get into the meat of this topic, however, I want to seed a thought in your head, because I've seen this in my world. And this is an excerpt from Seth Godin's blog. So he had a college professor years ago. He worked as an engineering consultant. There was a 40-story office tower in Boston with a serious problem. An unsightly dark smudge was coming through the drywall. Not good. I mean, who the heck wants black mold, right? The multi-million-dollar fix would be to rip out all of the drywall. So Godin's former professor was hired in a last-ditch effort to try and solve this problem to save millions of dollars. And the professor was a little cavalier. I mean, I guess not really cavalier, but it's a pretty big consulting tab to ask for. And the professor said to the company, I think I can fix it, but it will cost you $45,000. The owners instantly agreed. It's going to cost them millions to retrofit this building, to rip out all the drywall. Some professor says, $45K, I can fix it all for you. Boom. The professor wrote down the name of a common hardware store chemical. Here, he said, and sent a $45,000 bill. As Seth Godin noted, it was a bargain. That's how I see my world as well. That's how I see the content in my world. Whether it's the books, the podcast, my flagship training, this is all about not the freaking price tag, whether it's $25 free or thousands of dollars. Who cares? If you're stuck in that mindset, you are completely fucked. The idea is the way to think. Where does this get me to? Not what is my downside, not what's my loss. What's my gain? What is my gain? What do I get from this small investment? What is the potential? What is my chance of gaining a big hit, a big home run by taking this move? Not, oh my gosh, I spent $20. Oh my gosh, I spent a few $1,000s. I've lost everything. You're going to see over the course of this podcast episode, what I'm saying right now is the secret sauce. Because if your mentality is always worried about the loss, if you can't take the sunk cost in your head, if that sunk cost, if that loss, if that piece of money, if that money that you once had in your pocket is now gone and you can't stop thinking about it, man, just stop. Get a job. Go work for the man. Go work for the government. Go sharpen pencils. I mean, seriously. Who the hell wants to be that person? But you've got to stop now, and you've got to change it now. Let me get into the first example of this particular episode, an example that will illustrate my big picture very specifically. This is page 125 of a document put together, I'm guessing late 1983, early 1984. It would have been late 1983. I think it could, I guess it could have come later, but I think this would have been put together early 83 or the latest mid 1984. Oh, you're already tuning out? You can't think that there's anything that I could possibly share with you from 1983 to 1984 that could help you make money today in 2017? Oh man, you are fucked. You're gone. Go home. It's over. If you've already tuned out, you're freaking gone. Okay, let me calm down a little bit here. Page 125, the heading, Type 2 Errors. The statistical basis of C&D's trading technique. Now, C&D would be Rich Dennis's firm from back in the day. The statistical basis of C&D's trading technique, catch profit tails, avoid type 2 errors. Now, this is original documentation, so let me clarify a little bit more. The first comment comes from Dale DeLutri, who was an assistant for Rich Dennis at the time. All the money is made in the outliers. If you eliminate your best 10 to 15 days of trading, you'll not make any money for the year with our way of trading. Rich Dennis commented, you never really know which market is going to be the one that's going to be the big payoff. You never really know which market is going to be the one that's going to be the big payoff. Are you taking that in? You never really know. You never really know. Think about how many people on Wall Street sit around every fucking day and tell you, I know what's going to happen today. I can predict what's going to happen tomorrow. This is where the dollar is going to go. This is where Bitcoin's going to go. This is where Tesla's going to go. This is where Apple's going to go. And they say it with such assurance, such confidence, such smugness. Now, someone's probably laughing right now and saying, well, Mike, you sound pretty smug yourself. Yeah, I'm not trying to be. I'm just trying to be factual, really. I'm trying to be objective. But that line from Rich Dennis, that's the heart of the matter. He continues, missing a big payoff is just as bad as a loss. I got into beans, 1983, late as an insurance policy because it was the type of formation that could signal a big move. So how did C&D define a type 1 and type 2 error? A type 1 error, one which results in a loss. Any trading procedure will have approximately 50% losses. A type 2 error, passing up a good trade. Bill Eckhart, this would be Bill Eckhart, Rich Dennis's partner. Bill Eckhart says, everyone thinks it's worse to make a type 1 error, but this isn't true. Type 2 errors are worse. This is what you really have to watch out for. With type 1 errors, you have protections, stop losses, money management, etc. Type 2 errors are not inevitable. One's whole year tends to be 3 or 4 good trades. If you miss one good trade, your year can go from good to bad. If you miss an important profit, it's a lot worse than making a bad trade. Don't let a major trend in a market get away from you. This can outweigh 100 little trades. Don't get into the mentality that now it's too high and you've let it get away. If the market is 3 to 4 ATR from the ideal buy point, you want to execute a defensive mover to get in. Now, of course, taken out of context, one particular page in the original Turtle Notes only tells you so much. But the type 1, type 2 error, that type of thinking, well, that's right back to the sunk costs with the professor and Seth Godin, or someone acquiring powerful information that could help them to do better in the markets. Do you get wrapped up in the loss, or do you forget about the opportunity cost? Do you forget about the big opportunity that you just imagine away and think doesn't really exist? But that big opportunity does exist. It is real. And even if you're not thinking about it, if you want to just stay focused on the downside, which is irrational as hell, but then again, most people are irrational, including myself at times. We all are. But that's the whole point of this. The whole point is to be objective and to try and psychoanalyze ourselves to put rules onto our bad behavior so we don't do the dumb shit. That's the whole point. Now let me connect that into Amazon and Jeff Bezos. Li Zhang, an angel investor, VC in high growth startups, he read every Amazon shareholders letter all the way back to 1997. And he's got this great blog post, What I Learned from Reading Every Amazon Shareholder's Letter. And he lists some highlights. I first read these highlights today and I thought to myself, my gosh, it's trend following 101. It's trend following 101. For example, Lee says, here is a gem from a 2015 letter. Jeff draws the distinction between type 1 versus type 2 decisions within companies. Type 1 decisions are not reversible. Type 2 decisions are easily reversible. Too many companies treat every decision as a type 1 decision, as opposed to treating most decisions as a type 2 decision. Make them much faster and change course as needed. The takeaway? Improve the quality of your team and your decision-making process, even in the face of scaling. On a personal level, commit to doing better work even as you become more successful. For me, this brings in the basic concepts of sunk cost and opportunity cost, and the way people think about those two items. We get so fixated on the sunk cost, so fixated on the loss, and we just ignore the opportunity. We ignore the unknown. We ignore the possibility of positive unknown. What I mean by that, instead of putting ourselves in a position to benefit from the unknown, and as Dennis noted, the unknown being we don't know where we are going to make our money from, you do the opposite. Look at Jeff Bezos. How many different business models have been launched inside of Amazon that no one expected? Now, did they know they were all going to work out? Of course not. They were essentially experiments. They were small bets. And if that small bet proved to have legs, then you bet harder on the small bet. And then you end up with things like Amazon Prime. Or, in trend following parlance, you end up with a big damn trend that pays for all the small losses over the course of a year. Another nugget from this blog post about Jeff Bezos and Amazon that just reeks of trend following. Number 3, Jeff doesn't do math like mere mortals because it's always day one. Jeff invariably ends each year's annual letter to shareholders by attaching a copy of Amazon's original 1997 letter with the sign-off that it's still day one. To Jeff, being a day 2 company means decline and death. They become too focused on processes and move too slowly. A brilliant tactic that Amazon uses to make high quality and high velocity decisions is to say, quote, disagree and commit. If a team brings Jeff an idea that he disagrees with, he can continue to disagree, but immediately commit to supporting the team. The project gets greenlit and the team is moving forward. If they had to actually convince Jeff of the idea, it would have taken much longer. So when you get the entry on a trend following signal, there's usually not much going on. When you get a trend following entry signal, that's not a predictor that something's going to happen. That's simply things in motion tend to stay in motion. We've got a signal to the upside. Let's take a long position. We don't know what's going to happen, but let's don't overthink it. Let's take the damn position. That's all Bezos is saying there. Bezos is saying, I'm going to take the position even though I don't know if it'll work out. And if it doesn't work out, what does he do? He cuts his losses. If the trend doesn't work out after you take your entry signal, what do? You cut your losses. It's the same damn thing. It's the same damn thing. So cool, right? I did not know that Jeff Bezos had this whole philosophy. I appreciate that Ryan Lennox sent me an email this morning turning me on to this blog post because He knew what was going to happen once I read it. Continuing, if you are rapidly scaling into a large enterprise, you owe it to yourself to read the entire 2016 letter. Here's a snack from that letter. Here's a starter's pack of essentials for day one defense: customer obsession, a skeptical view of proxies, the eager adoption of external trends, and high-velocity decision-making. Takeaway: fight corporate entropy like your company's life depends on it, because it does. Always operate as the hungry upstart in your life. There's no way around that when it comes to the analogy to trend following. Trend following is the hungry upstart. By definition, if you're not going to be a buy and holder, trust the system to take care of you, thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Fed, for tucking me in at night and giving me a kiss on the forehead. And please don't kiss me on the lips, Mr. Fed official. But this is where it's at. This thinking, this trend following thinking, which someone else might call Amazon thinking. Amazon thinking, trend following thinking, same. It's the same damn thing. Number 5 of this blog post: only the paranoid survive, an ode to Andy Grove of Intel. Only the paranoid survive, but don't focus on the competition. In 2001, Jeff formally introduced Amazon's plan of relentlessly lowering prices as the third pillar to complement relentless focus on convenience and selection. Amazon is driven by paranoia, not of their competitors, but of the changing customer preferences and the shifts in product and technology paradigms. In 2006, Jeff talks primarily about the importance of making bets that are tiny in the beginning to avoid, quote, innovator's dilemma, end quote. Shout out to Clayton Christensen. Go read that book by the same name if you've not yet read Innovator's Dilemma. And that means not being able to make small bets because a company is so focused on optimizing its larger businesses. Since Amazon has seen many $10 million seeds turn into billion-dollar businesses, they are constantly nurturing small ideas and treat them with the same importance as the big ideas. I must say, I'm disappointed to have not thought about bringing in excerpts from Jeff Bezos' shareholder letters, his investor letters, into my newest edition of Trend Following. The dovetail is seamless. Small bets. Small bets? Why do you make small bets? You make small bets because you can't predict a fucking thing. You can't predict anything. You can't predict anything. One of my favorite guests on this podcast has been Larry Tintorelli. And Larry is on Twitter a good bit, and he will send me interesting things. And there is this other guy on Twitter. I don't care to mention him, but he's a real schmuck. And he attempts to tell people about, quote, technical analysis and price action. And his entire MO, logical fallacies, red herrings. The guy just makes up stuff. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Someone sent me a post the other day. This guy was quoting some other trader, and his whole point was trend following's dead. So how did he prove that trend following is dead? He took trend following and he applied it to one market over decades and drew some conclusion that since trend following did not work on this one market for decades, trend following did not work. Hey, guess what? Anybody that tells you that doesn't even know what trend following is. Trend following is not that. Remember at the top of this podcast, Rich Dennis saying, we don't know. We don't know where the profits are going to come from at the start of the year. What is Jeff Bezos taking small bets for? Jeff Bezos doesn't know where the profits are going to come from. So the guy on Twitter that Larry points out, who's a complete schmuck, is just talking, confusing, doesn't have a clue, trying to sell something. Yeah, I'm trying to sell something too. You know what I'm trying to sell? I'm trying to sell the freaking truth. And if I can sell the truth well enough, hey, it pays the bills. More power to me. That's my motivation. But I love pointing out complete nonsense. And so, like Ryan Lennox, who sent me this blog post, essentially comparing Bezos to trend following, or Larry Tintorelli, who sends me cool stuff, if you see Those certified idiots out there who don't know what they're talking about, who need a smackdown. Because it's quite clear, I like to give smackdowns. It's quite fun. You know, it gets the blood flowing, gets a little adrenaline pumping, makes a point, hopefully provides a little education. Number 6 of this blog post, move fast and break things. Now, I'm not going to read all of this particular part of the blog post, but there is one line that's just great. Amazon is comfortable with constantly inventing businesses that they have no expertise in. From the 2010 letter, quote, many of the problems we face have no textbook solutions, and we happily invent new approaches, end quote. Constantly inventing businesses that they have no expertise in. Do you think trend following traders have any expertise in gold or Tesla or Apple or the dollar or Swiss francs or the yen or Bitcoin? Do trend following traders have any expertise in any of these markets? Zero. None. Nada. And I'm sure some enterprising listener will go find for me some well-known trend following trader who now says he has fundamental staff on staff to do all of these things, to know all of these things. Yeah, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. You know why you shouldn't buy it? And I'm not saying that particular trend following trader exists, but if he does, all you have to do is go examine the performance track records of a couple dozen trend following traders going back decades. All of your lessons will be right there in the data. You will not need to listen to the words of any random person. I don't care how much money they have. If you've never seen a billionaire lie, and there are billionaires that lie, I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad lie. It could be a marketing lie. They could just be trying to not let you know exactly what they do, etc. Right? That happens. It's up to you, though, to make judgments and not just trust. Reagan, Gorbachev, trust but verify, right? If some billionaire or some centimillionaire says, Michael, this is the truth, boom. If I've got no way to verify that, I'm not really going to accept it. I have to have a way to verify it. If you can't figure it out, if you can't understand the logic, how the hell can you march? You can't just trust. Oh yeah, that applies to this podcast episode as well. But it's pretty easy to go find data to verify every damn word that I'm talking about. You can look at the track records of trend following traders. You can look at the results of Amazon. You can go look at Apple or Google. They're doing the same damn thing as Amazon. They launch products. They don't necessarily know that they're going to work out, but you still keep launching. Number 7, if you're offered a seat on a rocket ship, don't ask what seat, just get on. Takeaway, find a megatrend you can ride, be it Moore's Law, compound interest, or just a company that has the potential to be the next Amazon. I'm so sad that I don't have that line in my book. If you're offered a seat on a rocket ship, don't ask what seat, just get on. It's like trend following personified, trend following beauty. Isn't that just the greatest analogy? It's so awesome. You could tell that to your grandmother and she gets it. Hey, Gran, if you're offered a seat on a rocket ship, don't ask what seat, just get on. I don't want to go on a rocket, Michael. That's not the point. And she will get the point. Your grandmother will get the point. If you're offered a seat on a rocket ship, don't ask what seat, just get on. If the trend is taking off in whatever market, just get on. You know, the more time that passes as the internet unfolds, and I'm a guy who's been helping people online since 1996, so I've seen it all. I would have to say today, as the scammers and the bullshit artists have gotten more granular and spent more time developing their BS to get people confused into submission, That message overrides all of the other messaging. If you're offered a seat on a rocket ship, don't ask what seat, just get on. If you want to learn anything in life, whatever the topic is, just put that. Just take the rocket ship line, don't ask what seat, just get on. Put a holster on your side hip, put a holster, like a gun holster, and just insert that line into the holster. And every time someone comes at you with nonsense, just pull it out. Read it, either to them or to yourself. And you're just going to have your answers. You're going to know what's up. They're going to know what's up. It's the ultimate truth laid out in all of its clarity. Finally, number 8, do things that don't scale. Drive the Chevy. While Amazon was just starting, Jeff Bezos drove packages to the post office every evening in his Chevy Blazer. His vision was that one day Amazon would get a forklift. He's got much fancier rides now, but at its core, Amazon executed on Jeff's simple principles day in and day out for 20 years. I've tried to do this in my life. I've had some pretty good success with it. Keep the expenses minimal. Look for the trends. Ride them like crazy. But I must share a fun memory for me. One of the times back in the day, I had a chance to go to Salem Abraham's ranch in Canadian Texas. And I think Salem was doing some errands. And this is a one stoplight town, or at least it was a one stoplight town the last time I was there. Maybe they've got 2 now. But I remember we were driving around in Salem's beat up pickup truck. And it was beat up like crazy. It probably had 200,000 miles on it. I'm not saying that Salem Abraham has not bought himself a nice car at some point in time. But what stuck with me was his nature. His nature was, I don't need the flashy stuff. It's not helping me with the goal. I'm trying to stay grounded because staying grounded is very important when you are hunting for these unexpected trends. It takes a lot of psychological power, a lot of mental juice to put oneself in a position to do something that 99% of the population doesn't want to do, because 99% of the population wants to sit there with their mouth open, receiving applesauce on a spoon from a government official who then pats them on the head and tucks them in at night. Most people that listen to this podcast don't want that, but it's worth pointing out the differences. And so there is something to economy, to being a spendthrift if you're going to chase trends. Because spending money doesn't make the trend come. Oh yes, spending money, for example, if you're in Jeff Bezos' situation where you are outlining a small bet, that's one kind of spending money. Investing in the small bet. Trend following traders are doing that too. Taking a small bet is not, quote, spending money. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that just blow through money and don't have the capital to play the game when the game finally comes. I love, love, love that you can take trend following and Jeff Bezos and again, throw them into that big bowl of pho and end up with something that just works. It just works. One last thing, I can guarantee you, if you don't think like Jeff Bezos, if you don't think like a trend-following trader, it's quite okay. This is tough stuff. I'll agree. But if you don't think like that, if you don't have it in your blood, you're going to be average, maybe below average. You've got to be outside the damn box if you want something different in 2017. If your entire world right now is governed by groupthink, by the latest Facebook post, if you're scared to say something, if you're scared to do something because how the crowd might judge you, you're done, you're toast. Don't listen to this podcast. I'll drive you crazy. Just tune me out. You don't want to pay attention to something like this. Just get in your little bubble, and have a chill time. I'm not saying the little bubble's bad. I mean, plenty of folks just want to have an average existence. That's not what this podcast is about. This podcast is about pushing the envelope of powerful information to get you, to get myself, to get us all going in a direction where great things can happen. That's my only goal. I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.